Why did all of this happen? Why did you do all of these things? All of these women were defenseless. They were not a threat to you in any way, shape, or form.
Lonnie David Franklin Jr. was a notorious American serial killer who terrorized the streets of Los Angeles, California for over 2 decades. But it wasn't his gruesome crimes that earned him his infamous nickname. It was the 14-year-long gap in his killings that he seemingly took, leading him to be known as the Grim Sleeper.
After thinking about it, and pondering it, going over it in my mind, I've come to this conclusion, that it doesn't matter why. I can't think of anyone that I've encountered in all my many years in the criminal justice system that has committed the kind of monstrous and the number of monstrous crimes that you have.
From 1984 to 2007, Franklin was responsible for at least 10 murders and 1 attempted murder, leaving the community in fear and the police baffled. But what made his case even more disturbing was the fact that he managed to evade arrest for so long, despite being suspected by authorities as early as 1989.
All of these people have been suffering and will continue to suffer, but hopefully, as many of them said, they feel they're going to receive some peace, and I hope that you are able to leave here with some peace today. But it's not vengeance, it's justice, Mr. Franklin. And so, at this time, I will say that the defendant is not eligible for probation, and probation is denied. And so, Lonnie Franklin Jr., for the first-degree murder of Deborah Jackson as alleged in count 1 and the special circumstance of multiple murder, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty. The total non-death sentence is life plus 25 years to life plus 14 years, all of that consecutive.
On August 10, 2016, the Los Angeles Superior Court sentenced him to death for each of the 10 victims named in the verdict.
I am struck by the sheer inhumanity of what one human being could do to not one, but 3 human beings.
Michael Madison's name sends shivers down the spines of those who remember the terror he unleashed on the streets of East Cleveland, Ohio. This convicted serial killer and sex offender left a trail of destruction in his wake, claiming the lives of at least 3 innocent women over a span of 9 months in 2012 and 2013.
It is incomprehensible. You cajoled, lured, and deceived Shatisha Shealy, Angela Deskins, and Cherelda Terry to your apartment for your depraved purposes. You went on to abuse the corpses of these 3 victims. You stripped them from the waist down. You folded them in half, binding them so that their feet were up by their ears. You wrapped them in multiple layers of trash bags, and you discarded them.
Madison's crimes were nothing short of heinous, with the victims being found in garbage bags, discarded like trash. But despite his efforts to cover his tracks, the law eventually caught up with him in 2013, leading to his arrest and eventual conviction.
Upon consideration of the relevant evidence, the testimony exhibits admitted in mitigation, it is the judgment of this court that the aggravated circumstances of course of conduct, felony murder kidnapping, felony murder rape, of which the defendant was convicted, outweigh the mitigating factors by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Accordingly, the sentence of death is imposed upon the defendant Michael Madison on counts 1, 4, and 7.
Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Madison maintained his innocence throughout the trial, only to be met with a guilty verdict that left the families of his victims feeling a sense of justice and closure. Today, Michael Madison serves as a chilling reminder of the evil that can lurk in even the most unassuming individuals, and the importance of remaining vigilant against the threat of violence and crime.
After having conducted the required weighing process and analysis, this court finds that the state of Ohio has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the aggravating circumstances associated with count 1 outweigh the mitigating factors.
Sean Michael Great's life was defined by darkness as he embarked on a chilling killing spree that left a trail of devastation throughout northern Ohio. This convicted serial killer, rapist, and former drifter was responsible for the deaths of 5 young women between 2006 and September 2016, leaving families and communities in shock and mourning.
The court therefore concurs with the jury's sentencing verdicts regarding counts 1 and 7. The court therefore finds that a sentence of death by legal ejection shall be imposed upon Mr. Great for the aggravated murder of Elizabeth Griffith as stated in count 1 of the indictment, and a sentence of death by lethal injection shall be imposed on Mr. Great for the aggravated murder of Stacy J. Hicks, aka Stacy J. Stanley, as stated in count 7 of the indictment.
But justice finally caught up with Great, who was convicted on 2 counts of aggravated murder in 2018 and later pleaded guilty to 3 additional murders.
The court further orders that each of the death penalties be carried out by appropriate authorities on September 13, 2018, which would be the 2-year anniversary of Mr. Great's discovery.
His heinous crimes earned him the death penalty, with a scheduled execution date in 2025.
And 5, the state versus Timothy Ray Jones, Jr. We, the jury, unanimously agree on the existence of an aggravating circumstance. 2 or more persons were murdered by the defendant by act or pursuant to one scheme or course of conduct in the murder of a small child under the age of 11 or younger, and is so signed by the foreperson.
The name Timothy Jones Jr. is forever etched in infamy, as he committed one of the most unthinkable crimes in recent history. He shattered the lives of his 5 children, Mara, Elias, Naughton, Gabriel, and Abigail Elaine, in a shocking act of violence that shook the community in Lexington County, South Carolina. Jones' actions were nothing short of monstrous, admitting to working Naughton to death and killing the other 4 children in a state of panic.
We, the jury, in the above entitled case, have found beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the following statutory aggravating circumstances, to wit, 2 or more persons were murdered by the defendant by act or pursuant to one scheme or course of conduct, and the murder of 5 children 11 years of age or younger. Now recommend to the court that the defendant, Timothy R. Jones, Jr., be sentenced to death.
Despite claiming insanity as his defense, the court saw through his deceit and found him guilty of 5 counts of murder in 2019. Jones was sentenced to death, and he currently awaits execution on death row in South Carolina. His appeal to the South Carolina Supreme Court was rejected, leaving him with no recourse but to face the consequences of his heinous actions.
The families of Michael and Trina necessitate consecutive sentences. The state would ask that you sentence on each of those 8 counts a maximum possible sentence and run them each consecutive to each other. Thank you.
The tragic tale of Joseph McAlpin is one that is hard to forget. The horrific events that unfolded at the car dealership in 2017 resulted in the loss of 2 precious lives, as well as the life of an innocent dog.
Okay, the court's going to proceed to impose sentence at this time. With regard to count number 1, the aggravated murder of Trina Tamola Kuznick, the court's going to impose a sentence of death, plus 3 years on the firearm specification. Count number 2 for the aggravated murder of Michael Kuznick, death, plus 3 years on the firearm specification. Count number 8, aggravated robbery. This involves the robbery of Trina. 11 years plus 3 years for the gun specification, consecutive to each other.
The married couple, Trina Tamola and Michael Kuznick, had their world shattered when they were brutally murdered at their car dealership, Mr. Cars, on East 185th Street. Despite the heinous nature of his crimes, justice prevailed for Trina, Michael, and their beloved pet. McAlpin was convicted in April for the murders and is now facing the consequences of his actions. The pain and suffering of those affected by his actions will never fully heal, but the verdict offers some measure of closure and relief. Thanks for watching. We hope that you found this information both informative and engaging. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you never miss a new video.